I hope everyone had a great week. There we go. Good to go. Let me get on the other side so I can actually see everyone. Um, so it has been a pretty crazy week, actually. Um, yeah, there we go. I'm making sure I can see everyone's comments as well this week because I had so many of you that I didn't see until later in the session. Um, It's been super, super interesting. Hey, Mom, what's going on? There you go. Pretty cool. Yeah, I think I have everyone's chats going. No, and let's I message with yeah, there we go. Cool, yeah. So the chat's open as well. We can get going on. I assume Billy's there too. So hey Billy. Um, it's been super, super fun. We have a lot of exciting programs going on in the Dallas market. Um, and actually, for that matter, all over the country, whether you are in Florida or New York, California, Chicago, we have incredible brand ambassadors with Penfolds who are doing activations around the country. Super exciting this week. One thing Julie has been doing really well in Illinois. You should definitely check in with her page. She has been doing Wine Down Wednesdays every single Wednesday. I will attach the details. Another really cool program that we have going on. Hold on, I'll grab the card. In the Metroplex, if you are excited about buying wine like everybody else, Texas is actually drinking more right now during the pandemic than any other state in the country. So that's kind of exciting. If you go to Veritas Wine Bar in the next couple of weeks, you may notice this on your takeout order. This is a come back and join Jessica over at Veritas, fellow New Yorker, also. Hey Shelby, also from New York, moved to Texas in the wine industry, so super exciting. And we will be doing a glass of wine at Penfolds when they do open back up. Super exciting. They planned on doing the 3 to 9 by the glass, but also this will be the Max's range, so you can kind of try a couple of our wines. The other thing we got to do today was super exciting. I know my job's amazing and I feel super grateful every single day, but today we had kind of a virtual paint class, which I didn't know how it would work out. This is my art from today. Of course, it's wine themed, so very, very, very on brand, if you will. Especially right now, all we've been doing is drinking wine. Modeled after, of course, Penfolds bottle, Bordeaux bottle. The one thing that I wanted to mention and kind of chat about today before going into a wine is wine bottle shapes. The shape of wine bottles is actually a really good indicator sometimes of what's in the bottle. So we have traditional shapes of bottles that represent regions or varietals. So this kind of heavy shouldered, right? We're used to seeing this for Bordeaux varietals, for example. So that includes Cabernet Sauvignon. So that's generally where we see these bottles, Sauvignon Blanc, things like that. We have, of course, the traditional champagne bottle. They're pretty much always going to be wider on the bottom. They're going to have this punt. This is part of the structure of every champagne bottle, and that's just to deal with the pressure and the bubbles. The other fun one that we have, and my personal favorite shape of bottle, is going to be Burgundy bottles. They're a little bit lower, chubbier. They're exactly the same amount, 750 milliliters in a bottle. You could tell this as actually not a great sign when we're talking about aged wines. It's getting a little bit lower here under the foil, so that's something that I have to look out for and probably think about opening soon. And the other sort of bottle that you'll see are kind of Alsatian bottles. So those are really popular for Riesling, for example. And I'll grab one. So this is a good, that long, skinny, right? These are going to be sometimes Pinot Gris, of course, Riesling, my favorite. Ciao, Roger. How are you doing? Roger Bissell's sommelier here in Dallas. He has lived in Florida. He's lived around the world. His Italian is incredible, much better than my own. Super, super exciting. I'd heavily recommend Googling him. He is really active within the Dallas wine community, but also online, and just a wealth of knowledge. In a world where everyone's very brand focused, it's always the best thing, I think, to be able to just talk about food and wine as a whole. The other fun bottle, this is from the Rheinhessen. They actually make exclusively these fun bottles. So this is one of these wines. It's like $12. Sometimes you'll see them at grocery stores. In total, I found this when I was in the Finger Lakes at Cornell for undergrad, and kind of really cute, nostalgic bottle. So again, when we're talking about these tall, lanky, skinny bottles, you know, perfect place. So yeah, it's a cat. And Roger, they actually make these matte black ones that are next level gorgeous. I really love these bottles. I kind of am just a collector in general of, hi Aditi, I miss you so much from New York. Hey girl. But yeah, the bottles in general of wine are the most interesting part. I'm addicted. Hi, Michael. Addicted to branding in general. It's one of kind of the most interesting parts of the business for me personally. I'm just in love with branding. As I mentioned before, like when I brought the champagne bottle over, these are actually regional bottles. So Texas was from Texas, New York was from New York. I think that it adds like this level of creativity, right, to wine in general, and I love that. My favorite thing about Penfolds bottles, and of course I get to represent Penfolds every day of my life, and I'm so lucky and so fortunate to be able to do that. But our bottles have our crest on them, which has a unicorn. If you haven't seen this, definitely look them up. Super fun. It's kind of this family crest that is now on every Penfolds bottle. And with that said, this year is the 60th anniversary of our baby Grange, our Bin 389. So just grab this today. It's worth mentioning, I Coravin it, that's why it's so low. So the cork's still in, but I'm going to pull it today. Coravining, particularly with wine, when you're not drinking a whole bottle at once, which of course is easy, especially in a time of isolation like we're in now, we are able to really save the bottle for a longer period of time. To be honest with you, I Coravin regularly so I can have variety. So for me, even if I am drinking that bottle in quantity, at least I can kind of have a variety of things. So pulling the cork out when I'm on the road, Coravining is great because I don't have to worry about the corks breaking, popping out, but also saving the wine. So if I don't get through it right away, I'm able to revisit, of course. So the Bin 389, there's a lot of fun to say about it. The first is that when this blend was released, it became what is quintessentially Australian. Cabernet and Shiraz as a blend started here with Bin 389. It's usually about 50-50 Cabernet Shiraz. The 2017 vintage is 54% Cabernet, and a part of that is because we did not actually produce our Bin 707. All the fruit then became declassified. That would go to 707 into our Bin 407. So if you love Cabernet as much as I do, it has a blend of both American and French oak. I definitely recommend, hey Shelby, I definitely recommend getting a couple of bottles of the 407. I love to tell people when I'm on the road, especially like I'm at a time where all of my friends are getting married, they have children. It's a great gift to be able to give somebody something that they can open up a decade from now, 2 decades from now, and have a sense of time. So this 2017 vintage, like, look out for all my friends who have a 2017 baby or wedding or some kind of special date, because this is what you are getting to be able to age for 20, 30 years comfortably and be able to revisit and remember these times. I think what's really exciting when we think about the 2020 vintage, for example, in Australia, particularly with our white wines, the Chardonnays of the Adelaide Hills in particular, that's definitely what I'm thinking about for 2020. We've had now this kind of time of isolation right after harvest. So when we talk about sense of time and sense of place, it's really, really interesting to look at the vintages and kind of everything that's happened around it, right? Hold on just 1 second. I had to replug my computer in. So getting back to kind of this wine and what's in this glass, really, really rich and beautiful in color. We, of course, use oak plentifully in the wineries at Penfolds. This is actually not made at McGill Estate, but rather in our main winery up in the Barossa Valley. When we talk about the Cabernet and Shiraz blend, that's one factor of this wine that's kind of iconic. But the second thing is, of course, the use of American oak, and not just any American oak. In the Bin 389, we use our second use Grange barrels. So if for the first year, hi Alec, how are you? Oh, Alec is incredible. He is at Masumi here in Dallas. We had a master class with them a couple of months ago, I guess now. And it's one thing that I miss more than anything in this isolation. I bet you guys do too, is going to see the favorite people in the industry. It's really nice that social media lets us stay connected with everyone. And so with these Grange barrels, they're actually American hogshead, so they're a little bit larger, right? 300 liters. They're big boys, real big boys. And the first time they're used, they have the Shiraz for Grange in them, of course. And what doesn't get put into Grange gets declassified and goes into our Bin 389. So Penfolds works on a system where they get to try all the fruit kind of separated in sections blindly, and then get to revisit and declare where they think the panel thinks as a whole that the wine belongs in. So we do get to use those Grange barrels for our Bin 389, which is where that Baby Grange comes from. Baby Grange is the most collected wine in Australia. There's something like more than 1 bottle per household. Like if you did the math of how much 389 is sitting in Australia. One of the most incredible anecdotes came from Tim, one of our GMs. He's based in the US, but he's an Aussie. And he said one of the most compelling aspects of what we have is our recorking clinics, where collectors and not collectors, just consumers who have old bottles of Penfolds are able to come in, meet the winemakers, taste their wines, any red wine that's over 15 years old, and see how they're standing the test of time and talk about them. And so that Bin 389, it's very much like an heirloom, 20, 30 years old. They're bringing these bottles in to kind of get a checkup, and it's a really remarkable testament to how much the Bin 389 is loved. And I think that the Bin 389, which is Shiraz and Cabernet, and then the full, Bin 407, entirely Cabernet, are really good side by side, just because they're kind of in the same tier, but so different, and you really get to tell how much that Shiraz makes a different difference on the palate. Hey, Tony, what's going on? Tony and her daughter run an incredible importer based in Illinois. Really beautiful Italian portfolio. Her son is actually my neighbor, so I've been really lucky to taste probably a lot of the portfolio. At this point, more than half for sure. And they're Verve imports, so if you're looking for something fun, new, hop in. The wine is incredible. Everything. They have amazing sparkling wine, and kind of all the gamuts of Italian, right? The beauty in tasting outside of the country that I work in, Australia and the US, is getting to kind of try new things constantly. So has been super fun, and they're great neighbors. So as we get back to the wine, if you can tell, the wine is starting to stain the glass, right? We've been kind of chatting, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes or so. The wine's been kind of opening up. The legs are really long and full. And realistically, I love saying the wine has nice legs. But in reality, these legs are really just telling us kind of the amount of alcohol that's in the wine. You'll notice kind of these long, heavy legs on richer styles of wine. Christopher Bates, he's a master sommelier in the Finger Lakes. If you don't follow him on social media, definitely do. He actually just put together an amazing Syrah portfolio, over 6 wines, and they're all really amazing. But Greg Harrington, both Chris and Greg went to Cornell. They both went to the hotel school. They're both master sommeliers. They're both really into Syrah, and really the reason that I love Shiraz and working with Penfolds. So I owe them a lot of that. But the one thing that I distinctly remember the first time I ever blinded with Chris, mind you, I'm in like a vat of his Cab Franc during harvest time, is the violet, the floral. And right now, I don't know if it's just because that's what I grab when I talk about Shiraz and drink Shiraz, but that's what's right there in the front, and what I love about Shiraz in particular. So we really have these beautiful floral notes, really great blue and red fruit, really brambly, but not in a bad way. Definitely not super ripe, but definitely like crushed up. There is this herbaceousness, right? When we think about Coonawarra Cabernet from Australia, we always talk about kind of that mentholy, herby, eucalyptusy notes on the palate, and I definitely get that here. This is always my favorite part, is tasting. What I think helps when people always ask, what should I buy and collect, right? That's one part of wine life, is being able to sit on wine for extended periods of time. Penfolds is known for its ageability. It's something that we take an incredible amount of pride in. When we talk about our ageability, that's something that we want across our entire portfolio. So the way I always think about the way a wine's going to age is a couple of factors. So first is like the acid. Is there enough acid? Because that's one thing that kind of settles down in time. And this really hits it, right? I have like that bright, almost tart style of acid that's going to kind of relax over time. Alcohol, Tannin's kind of that mouth-watering factor that on the sides just, and I think that these tannins, particularly because I've been corbinning them for a while, one thing is everything's kind of mellowed out. It's almost like I decanted the wine for, a day before opening it up, just because, of course, we've been taking a little bit of wine and refilling with gas, but in practicality, there is a little bit of oxygen transference. And when the bottle starts to get lower, you start to kind of notice those nuances a little bit more. So the tannin and the acid, the alcohol. Uh, the last piece, of course, is the complexity. So um, I really love to have wines that have kind of herbal and savory characteristics, like the Bin 389, for a long period of time because those change so dramatically. And fruit that is kind of fresh and tart now will mellow out after extended periods of time. They'll get a little bit more dried, the same way a raisin in the sun will go from being a grape to turning into a raisin. So drying kind of the fruit out is something that you see so much with the Bin 389 in particular. If you have any favorites right now that you're drinking a lot during the shutdown, the COVID-19 isolation, please write in. I know that I have been drinking a little bit of everything. Red wines, white wines, sparkling. We opened a bottle of champagne yesterday. A little bit of whiskey, to be honest, scotch, especially like peaty stuff. And I'm generally not interested in casually drinking scotch on the regular. I have recently. I've definitely been dabbling with things I may not have been super comfortable with before. So do you guys find yourselves drinking things you don't usually drink or eating things you don't usually eat? I think that right now I am definitely seeing an increase. What's the Bin 389? Oh, I'm echoing there. Drinking things and eating things that I don't usually eat or drink just because I am definitely looking for a little bit more comfort in food, right? Fatty foods, creamy foods, rich foods. Yeah, one thing with us starting kind of a business in Oklahoma, we have been back and forth all the time, and the roads are really lonely. You just come down, you come back, whatever's next in the liquor cabinet to enjoy. We've also been drinking a lot of gin and tonic. I drink gin and tonics regularly anyway, but definitely a little bit more on the fruit side and a little bit more interesting mix-ups. One place that I miss, I know we're talking constantly about the places that we miss, Sachet. I was at Gemma during the kind of planning processes at Sachet, so really got to be on the forefront of that, what that menu looked like, and the cocktails. They have an incredible gin and tonic list, so I can't wait for them to reopen. I miss the service, I miss the warmth, and I absolutely, of course, miss the people and the spirits and wine, of course. So we have been doing, wine review. Let's say hi. Hi. Yeah, we have some cool wine folk in the group right now, so happy to say. Yeah. Do any of you have any questions about wine? One thing that we're doing next week, super to announce and work with, is a wonderful champagne company, Lanson. My friend is. Hi, Jen. Hi, Chad. We got some really dope wine people in the grid right now. What's going on, y'all? So Chad and I are actually going to be going live together next week. Same time. We're going to be talking about the wines in our portfolio. We're going to be talking about champagne in general, Dallas-Fort Worth kind of food and beverage scene. We both work Texas-wide, so we can really talk about what our different accounts are doing and how we're all kind of working together to get this done. We have some awesome partnerships, so you can go and get both Penfolds and Lanson wine at Nick and Sam's, Weishi, as well as Veritas and Kent & Co. in Fort Worth. And so we'll have a bunch of our wines available for you to kind of grab a hold on before the chat. We might have some special guests from various places pop in. Sorry, my dog is loving this. And so it'll be a super, super exciting discussion of our wines and what we're drinking and how we can kind of mix together. Chad, I know, I'm really bad. Hey, Frank, getting back to shout outs and kind of what everybody does. Frank Piccoli is in this group right now. He works for kind of this hybrid of California, a really popular California producer, but also imports. He has some of my favorite wines from Germany, actually, in his portfolio. There is a Pinot Noir called The Butcher that is actually available at Pogo's here in Dallas if you're interested in kind of trying something a little bit new, as well as some incredible Riesling. And I mean, Italian galore as well, Frank, but you know how it goes. So super excited about next week. We're going to get on, we're going to chat, we're going to taste through. We're going to grab actually dinner at Nick and Sam's and Oishi, just a little bit of both. We'll eat a little bit of everything. And we'll taste it with the wines, some wines that are super unassuming and you wouldn't expect. My favorite thing about food pairing is kind of the non-traditional aspect. When I built my wine lists, always, no matter where I was, I do find that I was kind of more traditional, but I think where you can go non-traditional and get really creative is in those food and wine pairings. So it'll be a fun little time. We're going to be working with Luxury Travel MFC on his Instagram as well. So we'll have kind of that going. It'll be much bigger than today's, but look out for that. We'll have the invitations out this evening. And it'll be super fun. Again, this is meant to be a lot more casual, I think, in a time where we see so many brands activating and sharing wealths of knowledge. The thing that I look forward to most is kind of just hanging out, being real, casually having conversations and sharing wine. I am super lucky in the sense that Penfold's portfolio ranges from, $13 a bottle, entry-level stuff, all the way up to super, super, super complicated and very famous Grange. So we have a ton of fun wine for you guys. We will be staying 6 feet apart, I promise, and it will be a great time. So I will follow up in the comment section with that invitation, and we'll get it going. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I had a lot of fun. Really good to see a lot of you, even if you are far away. I miss all of you who hopped in, who I haven't seen in a little bit, both for COVID and otherwise. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you same time next week, 6 p.m. Have a great weekend, guys. Cheers.